Good evening and welcome to Northbeat. I'm Lainey Lambrink. Yellowknife RCMP say gun violence is up in the city. There have been 2 shootings this month, less than a week apart. In the first incident on March 12th, 1 person was injured. In the other, 2 people were killed. Police say both shootings were targeted, and the second was related to the drug trade. Staff Sergeant Byron Donovan spoke to CBC Trailbreaker host Hillary Bird about the increased gun crime.
I think the numbers are clear, especially within the first 3 months of this year in comparison to what would be the last year around the same time period, is we have seen an increase in gun violence in Yellowknife with the most 2 recent shootings. Part of that has to do exactly what you mentioned earlier. It's involved with the drug trade, and people that are involved in the illicit drug trade are coming up from the south, and we're seeing an increase of handguns and violence associated to the illicit drug trade.
And so the guns and that we typically see used in this sort of violence, are they usually illegal guns?
Yeah, I can't speak for the ones exactly in this investigation because I don't know what the answer is to that. However, they're not the guns that people are using to go hunting, right? They're oftentimes we're seeing handguns, and when we are seizing these guns, they're oftentimes is that they might be the serial numbers erased, so which leads to be that they are obtained illegally.
Do we know how they're getting into the city?
We don't know how they're getting to the city, unfortunately.
We've heard in the past, I've just been covering the city for so long that there were gangs. I'm thinking of the 856 gangs in previous times. Do we know what the situation is on the ground in Yellowknife when it comes to the drug trade?
Yeah, there's no specifics on if there's a gang per se, as you mentioned, the name of a previous group that was operating in the city. There is pockets of people that come up which are organized and are coming to Yellowknife, and they are involved in the illicit drug trade. Are they working in a group? I would say it's safe to say yes, but no specific name, as you mentioned, to the previous group.
And it's mostly groups coming up from down south?
Correct, yes.
Staff Sergeant Donovan says RCMP are doing everything they can to investigate the shootings, and he says police are increasing their presence in residential areas. He says their vehicles are now equipped with computers. That means police can do their reports anywhere instead of headquarters. Former Labrador MP Peter Panashaway is facing a criminal mischief charge tonight after a long simmering dispute boiled over in Sheshajit. Panashaway says he was fueled by his frustration with drug dealing in the community and police inaction.
You see what?
What about the drug dealer doesn't get away with anything.
That's a short video of his arrest. Panashaway shared it on social media Saturday. Police arrived shortly after Panashaway broke out all the windows of a vehicle parked outside of his son's home. Panashaway says his son is addicted to cocaine and agreed to transfer ownership of that home to former Innu Nation Deputy Grand Chief Jeremy Andrew in exchange for drugs. Panashaway says the RCMP won't do anything about drug dealers in Sheshajit, so he took the matter into his own hands.
But it didn't take the police very long to come out and arrest me. It took me about I'd say no more than 5-10 minutes. They showed up and arrested me and put the arm handcuffs on me and arrested me. And so it's I don't know. I don't understand what's going on. Like Jeremy and the drug dealers here are very well protected by the police, and I'm starting to wonder if there's crooked police officers in the RCMP in the community.
RCMP have declined a request for an interview. They did send a statement instead, saying police in Sheshajit are dedicated to the enforcement of all criminal activities within the community. The RCMP writes, "Our police officers rely heavily on community involvement in helping to enforce local crimes, particularly those involving drug trafficking. Drug investigations require reliable and recent information on activities that are occurring in the community." The RCMP says it has received some anonymous reports of drug activity, but not enough to support an investigation. Meanwhile, Andrew says he's not a drug dealer, that the transfer of the home to him is legal, and Panashaway has been targeting him for a while.
That's all he knows what to say right now because he has no other avenue. He says he's going to take me to court. There's nothing he can take to court. He's not going to take me to the band council. The drugs are rampant in our community. You know, rampant. There's an epidemic of drugs in our community.
Yesterday was World Tuberculosis Day. In Nunavik, the disease has been a problem for decades. Infection rates there are 100 times higher than in southern Quebec. In the past 10 years, every community in that region has reported cases of the disease. We spoke with two members of the Nunavik Regional Board of Health and Social Services about TB and efforts to stop its spread. Here's part of their conversation with Igalak host Eva Michael.
The Nunavik Regional Health Board and Social Services, in collaboration with health centers in the communities, have devoted time and effort to eliminate tuberculosis. Can you tell us what has been done so far to help battle TB?
Yes, we have been advertising campaigns for the people of Nunavik to understand what is TB and the importance of getting their vaccinations and awareness of the history in Nunavik pandemics in the 1950s, where tuberculosis was ramping Nunavik people, and people lost their lives, and we want to avoid that. So we talk about what is TB, what can we do to avoid or prevent spreading of the disease in the community and regions. We also talk about the importance of stigmatization associated to TB, because there are some people who have been affected by TB or sleeping TB, and the people in the community are not really sure how to react when someone may be infected. So our role is to help people understand how it spreads and what treatment can be done during those weeks and months after the confirmation of a TB in a person or sleeping TB.
Maybe if I add, we're also working with the health centers to try to expand the different things that we offer people. Some of the communities are small; they don't always have all the resources they need to be able to most effectively or most efficiently take care of people, do the diagnosis, do the treatment. So we're working to expanding those options, giving more options for ways of getting diagnosed, trying to get the communities most affected to have an X-ray machine, for instance, in their own community, so that people don't have to travel in and out just for basic diagnostics. And we're also working on getting new treatments available that are shorter for the disease.
Are Canadian Inuit safer from TB today than 10 years ago, or are the numbers still the same? What do you want to tell people about the realities of TB?
The numbers last year were very, very high. We expect that we'll have high numbers this year again. We have outbreaks in Nunavik, outbreaks in many communities, and it's similar in other regions, definitely of the Inuit, but also of the world as well. We have better ways of addressing the issue than we did 10 years ago. So more of our communities have the tools necessary for the treatment. We have better treatments that are now being rolled out. But the risk is still there and still very present, and probably very similar to how it was 10 years. Unfortunately, the pandemic set us back a few steps. Yeah.
Thank you to both of you. That's all the questions I have, and unless you want to say something else that I might not have asked.
We would be great to remind all the people check up on your vaccination book, your children, your babies. If they haven't been vaccinated, let's catch up. If you're getting your vaccinations on time, thank you very much. Overall, we all want to have safe communities, and we want to be well in our communities. So I know all the listeners, even the people, the children, the elders, we're all in this together, and it's been a great response. People are getting vaccinated. We're just reminding people that we all need you to be safe. So thank you.
Thank you to both of you.
A measure to reduce emissions from ships passing through Arctic waters is being celebrated by a shipping expert. This comes as the International Maritime Organization implemented an Emission Control Area, or ECA, in Canadian Arctic waters and Inuit Nunangat. Andrew Kendrick is the former vice president of a shipbuilding company. He says it's good news the ECA is in place, but the area could have been protected much sooner.
It's taken a ridiculously long time to come. There was no good reason why that should not have been implemented as part of the overall North American emission control area back in 2010. So I have asked Transport Canada, the Canadian government, many times why that was not done, and I never really got a satisfactory answer.
Kendrick says he was told there was not enough shipping in the Arctic for the area to qualify for an ECA. He added that no other country would have objected to adding the Arctic to the zone in 2010. Transport Canada checks the nitrogen oxide emissions on ships passing through ECAs. Any ships emitting too many emissions face fines. There was a deadly attack on a Moscow concert hall last week. So far, 7 people have appeared in court in connection to it. A faction of the Islamic State group known as ISIS has claimed responsibility, but Russian President Vladimir Putin is also trying to cast suspicion on Ukraine and the West. The CBC's Briar Stewart brings us the latest.
The faces of the 4 alleged gunmen tell the story of their arrest and what happened afterwards. They appeared in court, bruised, beaten, and barely conscious. Late Monday, 3 others also appeared, accused of being complicit in the attack on a Moscow concert hall that left more than 130 dead. For the first time, Russia's president described the attackers as radical Islamists, but suggested Ukraine and the West could also have been involved. This atrocity may be just a link in a whole series of attempts by those who've been at war with our country since 2014, he said. The group ISIS-K, an offshoot of Islamic State, has claimed responsibility. It carried out a suicide bombing at the Kabul airport in 2021 and recently staged attacks in Iran and Turkey. Germany says it stopped the group from targeting a cathedral on New Year's Eve, and France's president said police there had also foiled planned attacks. We have offered to increase cooperation with Russia's intelligence services and our partners in the region, said Emmanuel Macron. France raised its terror threat to the highest level, and Italy has stepped up security ahead of Easter.
So we are seeing an upscaling by ISIS operations.
This international terrorism expert says Russia is a target of jihadi groups in part because it fought in Syria alongside the government against ISIS.
With the expansion of ISIS-K, they have been increasingly trying to tap into communities in Central Asia, but also Central Asian communities in Russia. And the way they go about doing it is predominantly online through encrypted messaging apps.
The suspected gunmen are all from Tajikistan. Russia has said they were arrested on the way to Ukraine. Ukraine and the U.S. have dismissed attempts to try and link Kyiv to the attack as propaganda. Briar Stewart, CBC News, London.
The United Nations Security Council has passed a resolution calling for an immediate ceasefire in the Israel-Hamas war. But there are questions about what impact it'll actually have. Journalist Sally Patterson has more.
United Nations Secretary-General Antonio Guterres spent his weekend at the Gaza border, renewing his calls for a ceasefire there, as more than 1 million people face starvation in the Strip. And now the UN Security Council has passed a resolution echoing those calls, after several previous attempts to do so over the past 5 months have failed. On Monday, the Council rejected an amendment proposed by Russia that would have called for a permanent ceasefire, but it backed the draft as a whole, calling for an immediate one. Speaking after the vote, China made a point of reminding Security Council members that resolutions are binding, and the Council could use enforcement measures if parties don't abide by them. But in her statement, the United States representative at the UN, Linda Thomas-Greenfield, called this a non-binding resolution, leading to questions over what impact Monday's vote will really have. The US, UK and Israel all condemned the fact that the text doesn't explicitly condemn Hamas's attacks on Israel on October 7th, which left 1,200 people dead and more than 200 taken hostage. The US, though, didn't use its veto vote to stop the text in its tracks, which went down badly with Israel. In response, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu cancelled a visit by his senior advisors to the White House that was due to take place later this week. National Security Council spokesman John Kirby says US officials had been looking forward to speaking to them about alternatives to a planned ground offensive in Rafah, which the US doesn't support. Israel maintains Rafah is Hamas's last major stronghold in the Gaza Strip and says it will go ahead with or without Washington's support. Sally Patterson for CBC News, New York.
With civil unrest escalating in Haiti, foreigners are facing a wave of kidnappings, robberies, and violent crime. Ottawa responded today by arranging to airlift vulnerable Canadians out of the country by helicopter. Foreign Affairs Minister Melanie Joly made the announcement.
We will be facilitating the travel of the most vulnerable Canadians in Haiti to the Dominican Republic. At present, the Dominican Republic has strict eligibility requirements for all those entering the country. Only Canadian citizens who have a valid Canadian passport will be eligible for this assisted departure.
The security crisis has been unfolding in Haiti since 2021. That's when gangs took control of major infrastructure and started turf wars. Most food and medical systems have since collapsed. The international airport in the capital has been closed, leaving many foreigners stranded.
Kinga waling mulu pangolo asyang miu muna toy mo ina daily takpa kimuk sa palilok mo tay mabuhat taling ni pilagayulok sa inuit amichwalu walong mata.
Priya doesn't love exercising, but loves the way it makes her feel. Max doesn't love cooking, but loves homemade meals with his kids. Paul doesn't love doing his taxes, but loves getting the benefits and credits he qualified for. Learn more about benefits and credits like the GST HST credit and Canada Workers Benefit at canada.ca/everydollar-counts. A message from the Government of Canada.
I will not forgive failure. God has chosen us as a new broom to sweep the Vatican clean of corruption.
What would you like to do with your life? I'd like to be an international star.
Can I get a hug?
You're crying.
No, I'm not.
Yes, you are.
Well, God will take his revenge then.
Yes, he will. With our help.
Moments that are so on trend right now. Ticket pricing, artificial intelligence, being a Swiftie, wild fashion trends, showbiz, and cancel culture. Join me, Alameen Abdul-Mahmoud, for Commotion, available now on CBC Listen or wherever you get your podcasts.
Sipping on a bit of Henny, can I get a little Remy? Feeling heavy, chilling but I'm feeling ready. Pulled up in a big old Chevy.
One of the biggest hockey tournaments in Rankin Inlet wrapped up this weekend. The Terrence Tutu Memorial is held annually in memory of Jordan Tutu's late brother, Terrence. He died by suicide in 2002. 12 teams took part in the tournament. There were 2 divisions. The North Baffin Eskimos won gold in the B division against Team Eskimo Point. The Caretakers took the title in the A division, beating Team Tutu. Jordan Tutu played for Team Tutu and spent a lot of time off the ice visiting friends and family in his hometown. For the first time in 6 years, Canada is back on top in women's world curling.
Here we go. Have you got this straight? Here we go. Here we go. Here we go. Here we go. Bertrand.
That shot in the 9th end brought home the gold for Rachel Homan's rink at the Women's World Curling Championship in Sydney, Nova Scotia. The three-pointer gave them a 7-5 win over Switzerland. It's Homan's second world title. Jennifer Jones was the last Canadian to lead her team to victory at this event, taking top spot in 2018. Canada's music industry celebrated its biggest and brightest last night at the Juno Awards show. The party in Halifax saw dazzling performances, all-star tributes, and even some biting political commentary. CBC's senior entertainment reporter Eli Glasner has some highlights for us.
Sometimes at the Junos, a single artist dominates, but this year in Halifax, they spread the love around with Tate McRae, with Toby, with the Beaches, and Charlotte Cardin, each taking home 2 Junos each. But the show opened in grand style with the return of our host, Nelly Furtado, singing a collection of her greatest hits from Man Eater to I'm Like a Bird and more. But let's go back to the Beaches. They've been having a remarkable time here in Halifax. They went into the show already having won the Rock Album of the Year award and beat out the Arkells and Nickelback to take home Group of the Year. An amazing accomplishment for this band from Toronto who had a message for their fans.
To all the young girls watching, go start bands with your best friends. Thank you.
The show in Halifax was the place for some powerful performances, particularly this tribute to Robbie Robertson.
Get your cannonball now to take me down the line.
And it was a place for some powerful statements. Tegan and Sarah were honored for their work with LGBTQ youths, and they used their time accepting the Humanitarian Award to call out the Alberta government with some strong words.
And we are dedicated to confronting any form of discrimination that threatens the well-being of our community. Threats like the Alberta government's attempt to prevent trans youth from accessing vital care.
The show was also a reminder of the expansive variety of the Canadian music scene, from Ottawa's Talk Breakthrough Artist of the Year belting out his song on the Juno stage. To Maestro Fresh West entering the Canadian Music Hall of Fame in style and making history as the first rapper to be inducted. Next year, the party moves to Vancouver. Eli Glasner, CBC News, Halifax.
This year's winner is Stephen Richardson.
A Yellowknifer won the Music Counts Teacher of the Year award at the Junos last night. Stephen Richardson is a music teacher at École St. Joseph. It was his 3rd time being nominated for the award and his 1st time winning. Richardson gets a $10,000 cash prize. His school gets a donation and he takes home a Juno trophy.
So nakorme marealogi no hatikato sayit. Merci beaucoup. Merci.
Nunavut's Ellie Sapi Isaac won Contemporary Indigenous Artist of the Year at the Junos. This was for her second solo album, Traveling Love, released last October. Isaac is originally from Saluit, Quebec. This is not her first time being nominated for a Juno. In 2005, Isaac won Aboriginal Recording of the Year, and in 2019, she was nominated for Indigenous Music Album of the Year. Time again for an annual tradition in Dawson City. It's called the Ice Pool. Residents place bets on when they think the frozen Yukon River will break up. The event has been going on since 1896. Here's how it works. A tripod is placed in the center of the Yukon River. It's attached to a cable connected to a clock at the town's cultural center. When the ice lets go, the tripod moves, breaking the cable and stopping the clock. Whomever guesses the exact time it happens or is closest wins half of the pot. The Dawson chapter of the Imperial Order of the Daughters of the Empire organizes the pool. That's a charitable women's organization. Kyla MacArthur is president of the Dawson chapter, and she says anyone can win.
The earliest breakup was recorded in 2016 on April 23rd. The latest breakup, and this is a really big one, was in 1964. The river didn't break in front of Dawson until May 28th, so pretty firmly into summer territory already, and certainly I hope it doesn't stick around that long this year.
MacArthur says anyone living in or outside of Dawson can play. Tickets are on sale now at local businesses and online. Last year, breakup happened on May 9th. That is Northbeat for tonight. For news anytime, head to cbc.ca/north. Thanks for watching. I'm Leanie Lambrink. Have a good night.
What happens when we transform the country into one massive obstacle course? 20 total strangers are about to find out.
Okay, game on!
Relationships will be forged and crushed.
I want to rip their heads off.
In an all-out battle for glory.
Oh my God! I'm glad that there's cameras around. Yeah, me too. Do it in, replay.
Only one thing's for sure. They are not ready for what's coming.
Let's go, baby!
Hello.
Dad is the master of marketing.
So handsome, both of them. How big is my face? Bigger.
That's a superstar wherever he goes. 2, 1.
Go back to Daddy marketing works.
Sipping on a bit of Henny. Can I get a little Remy? Feeling heavy. Chilling, but I'm feeling ready. Pulled up in a big old Chevy. Dance floor stops and Miguel them drops. Queen with the locks and the crown on top. Feet in a box, never sound on pops. If it ain't the Henny, give me crown on rocks.
What does it take to reach the top? Meet some truly inspirational people as they share the challenges and secrets of their success. It changed everything on CBC News Explore.